to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
All right, good morning. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you. I'm glad that you're with us. Going to be a great show today, as it is usually every day, however. As gloomy as it is outside today, even more gloomy than yesterday, we're going to have a great Tuesday, April the 18th, 2023 today. And we got a great show, lots of stuff to talk about. Locally, some flooding going on, some downtown business BIA stuff that we're looking at. CRA could be going on strike tomorrow morning. More than likely, they will be on strike as of 9 o'clock tonight. And deep dives today, following up with what we didn't have a chance to get into yesterday, which was the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, Katie Telford, being questioned. And just do you think these kind of questioning periods are effective in whatever setting they are, when politicians or anyone in our political sphere of power nationally, do you think when they're questioned it actually leads to anything? Do you think it's even useful? So we'll look at that. That's a bit of a deep dive. As well as CBC being flagged as government-funded media on Twitter. Apparently, CBC took exception to that. We'll talk about that as well. More than likely, if we got the time, that's what we're looking at doing. You're listening to Sudbury News Talk on CKLU 96.7 FM. Sudbury News and Views, where you get the chance to share your views on the news locally and abroad. Grateful for all of you being here each and every day. We're also streaming at cklu.ca. Click on the Radio Player Canada app logo. Stream us. Also, you can download the Radio Player Canada app. Take us with you and listen to us everywhere, anytime on your favorite device. And also streaming online at Facebook.com/Sudbury News or YouTube.com/Sudbury News. So make sure to like, follow, share, subscribe, all of that stuff. Although I'm not sure if it's even catching, because all of the main people that are even commenting right now, as I'm going to get to your comments, it just shows you as being invited. It doesn't even show you as actually following the show. If we have time today, I'll show you that. At some point, I'm going to show you that, what I see. I was showing Billy the other day, and it just shows that he's invited. It doesn't even show that he's following. So the amount of followers that we have, 5,300 followers, it's not a correct number. It should be way more than that, because as if any of the people, 20 or so people that are constantly on the live feed, aren't really following the show. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, or following our page. So anyways, I digress a bit. Thanks to our Facebook and YouTube moderators for the job that you do. And if you could look into that, if you're listening, and just check into that and see if for some reason there's a glitch there with our page, it would be wonderful. I appreciate that. And with also someone that I really appreciate is with us this morning. It's Billy. Good morning, Billy. How are you doing today?
Thanks. I appreciate you, Aaron. I appreciate this show.
Oh, thank you. I don't know. Well, you've been a great big part of this show, launching it. If you were to show everybody the technology that's behind, like all the hardware and software and things that we need to do to run the show, you've been a huge part of getting that off the ground, along with being on the show as well, at least 2 times a week, and co-hosting. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate your perspective as well. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks. It is a fraction of the effort grit that you've put into this show, and the fact that it is like a very unique thing, and I think it's kind of pushing the envelope of you know engaging local. I think the idea of this show is such a powerful, good idea. I think it's probably part of a healthy future if it gets kind of more widely adopted.
Yeah, well, thank you very
This
much.
model.
And you were a part of that as we were discussing how are we going to do this thing that's Sudbury News Talk, and we all kind of just were discussing it, brainstorming, and then eventually we said, oh, we have to eventually start it. So let's start it and see where it goes. And so you've been a huge part of that as well. And with that, Judy is saying, good morning, Billy.
Oh,
So
good morning, Judy. Thanks.
from Cara B on YouTube, good morning, Sudbury. Good morning. And here, Vin, good morning, Billy, as well.
Thank you. Good morning to you.
Get your own special good mornings. So, Lise, good
I
morning.
like it.
Thanks for being with us today. Billy's feeling the love for sure. Vin, again, good morning to everyone. Judy, good morning. Best part of the day. Oh, wow. Morning is the best part of the day. I do find that. I feel bad for people that don't rise early. They're missing out on a lot. Good morning. Stay optimistic. It just feels better. That is 100% true. Good morning, everyone. From Monique. Hope you all are having a great morning as well. So Mona, good morning. And David, good morning. Stay safe as usual. There's our motto for the day. Stay safe. Danica, good morning. A happy face emoji. And Maurice, good morning. Thanks for being with us as well. I hope you all are having a fantastic, great morning. Question period is useless. This is what Vin is saying. And if the elected are not willing to address the public with answers to the questions with nothing more than deflection, they are clearly not representing the elections. Furthermore, it isn't. It's spin to suggest just because you don't like the answer doesn't mean the question wasn't answered. Exactly. Yeah, we're going to get into that. That's going to be part of our deep dive today. Their self-appointed raises. Their self-appointed raises aren't worth question period.
Existing.
Okay.
Daily rant over LOL.
We're going to get into that, though. Thanks, Vin, for doing that. And I apologize for my eyesight. I'm going to get an eye
Shows up big. I got a
transplant
big
soon.
screen here, yeah.
You got a big screen?
Well, it's probably bigger than it shows up on yours, so.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I got to get mine up here. So that way, there we go. It's probably a lot better now. And with that, let's get right into it. Big show today. Lots to talk about. Videos from our Prime Minister commenting on the new Twitter labeling of government-funded media of the CBC. That's an interesting one. And then his chief of staff, Katie Telford. How do our leaders interact with us? And what do you think? Can we peer into their minds a little bit and see something? That's what we're going to be looking at today. But beginning with the weather, which doesn't look so nice out there. Let's just check in with the forecast, and we'll be back with more right after this. Currently, it is 0 degrees out there and kind of slick, so be careful when you're driving. Today, there's flurries, the amount of 2 to 4 centimeters, and the UV index will be 2 or low. There's not much wind, 20 kilometers an hour. Tonight, cloudy, 40% chance of flurries this evening. Wind, 20 kilometers still. Low of -5, wind chill -12 overnight. And then Wednesday, a mix of sun and cloud. Wind will be very low again. High of 8 Wednesday, tomorrow. Wind chill of -9 in the morning. And then looking at our little bit of a long range forecast here, Mix of sun and cloud, high of 8 tomorrow, Thursday, April the 20th. Chance of rain showers and flurries, high of 4. 30% chance of rain or flurries, that is. And then 60% chance of showers on Friday, high of 9. 60% chance of flurries or rain showers, high of 5 on Saturday. 60% chance of flurries on Sunday, high of 6. This is like the worst, the worst forecast I could have expected. And then eventually on Monday next week, high of 8 and mix of sun and clouds. So not looking too good in the forecast. And as you can see from the satellite, for those of you on the radio, it's just lots of activity. It just looks like Northern Ontario is targeted with all kinds of precipitation activity, and that is what it is. But that is your Sudbury weather, brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. For all things Sudbury weather, visit sudburyweather.ca. We'll be back with news headlines, Billy's perspective, and your perspective on what's going on locally and more broader than locally right after this. We'll be right back. Yeah, so Billy, I'm a bit my tongue twisted today, trying to get the words out. And locally and abroad is what I just wanted to say. We're going to talk about local issues and abroad, but for some reason,
thinking with beyond. I was going to go for beyond, local and beyond.
I could see that like a Buzz Lightyear kind of intro, local and beyond news.
Just feels, yes, I could feel the cinematicness.
Yeah, we should do something like that. Well, today is going to be kind of like that because there's lots of big stuff in the news. Let's start locally, and then we'll definitely want to finish off with what we couldn't get to yesterday with the questioning of our Prime Minister's Chief of Staff to see if they knew anything about what was going on with the possible interference in our elections. And then let's look at the Prime Minister's reaction to the CBC being labeled government-funded media. Let's see how much politics actually is involved there. Let's see if it's just a media thing or it's a political thing. So first off, here in Sudbury's hospital needs more space and services. However, Bill Blair, a federal cabinet minister, says, let's see here. What does he say?
They've announced $195 billion in new healthcare transfer funds to the provinces and territories.
Yeah, that was going on. They were negotiating that with the feds just recently, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So a federal
Ontario share $76 billion.
Okay.
$3 billion going into home care, mental health care, long-term care.
So we should expect that everything's going to get better now, correct? That there's 70 some odd billion dollars being pumped into the province's healthcare. Would you expect that it's going to be better?
I would expect.
Bill Blair said how the money will be used.
Expectations. Yeah.
Between HSN and Queen's Park, the role of the federal government is to ensure, quote unquote, funds are available. As part of his visit, Blair did a tour of some of Greater Sudbury's institutions. He and MPs Vivian Lapointe and Mark Zette met with representatives of Northern Ontario School of Medicine, Public Health Sudbury, and districts, as well as Mayor Paula Five, former MP of Sudbury, and a former police chief, Toronto Police Services. Blair also stopped in at the Greater Sudbury Police Service to meet with Chief Paul Pedersen. So there you go. So he was in town. Always good when you come with lots of money promised for the area, right? So you remember him, right? He was the chief of police of Toronto. As far as I remember, it was kind of controversial when he was in there. Lots of stuff going on.
Yeah, there was something. Was that during the trucker convoy too?
No, he was
his
way
name didn't
back.
come up in that?
No, he was
Okay.
way back in the day. Denise, good morning from Espanola. And Claire, good morning to you as well. Let's see here. Vin says, if you sell your medical privacy rights, okay, yeah. Yeah, because everything's going digital now, right? We're going to get a digital ID and upgrade to smart everything. That is correct. The choose to close down hospitals in Sudbury. Talk about the mismanagement of money for sure. Oh yeah, no, that's why I kind of made the comment. Do you think everything's going to get better now that we have more money? What do you think, Billy? Is everything going to get better now that we got more money?
It's possible, if things actually do tend to get better. I'll
No.
explain why.
Wrong
Especially
answer.
after there's a big kind of expose and everybody's looking at where the money's going and a lot of people are on the hot seat. That
Sure.
is the time when things actually start to get more efficient. So
Has that ever made a
there's a
difference in the
possibility there.
past? Is this a new
Oh
thing
yeah,
coming with
it's
money?
an ebb and flow.
But is it a
I
new
think
thing?
you can track. I think it's. I'm pretty sure it's kind of like a sine wave, like up and down. But
For sure.
you could probably track it over time. It goes continually down because I don't think there's as much transparency, as optimal.
That's right. So it goes continually down is the right answer, no matter how much money you put into it. If you have incompetent policies and those representing those policies in positions of power, you can give them all the money in the world and they will not serve the people correctly. You have to actually care about people first. And when you care about people, then
I'm sure there's some out there that do. There's probably some good,
there are
well-run institutions out there.
Yep. Like locally, we have a good example of that right now, right? The head of the hospital currently.
I'm not too sure about that. So.
Oh, okay. Just wondering what you might have thought about that.
Yeah, I have not seen any. I have not seen the numbers, but I have not looked into it. So.
Yeah. So you don't
right
recollect.
To be informed.
You don't recollect. Okay, so Vin says your caps. Okay, I can't even read now. Your cap lock is on. Oh, that's to Claire. Maybe she means for that. She wants to really kind of make a point there. Let's see here. Denise. Good morning. Yes. And everything. 15-minute cities like China, no escape, all drones and robots. Well, our future can be like that. There's no doubt about it. I was just watching an interview with Elon Musk last night talking about AI and it can be kind of dangerous. It will be dangerous. Okay, there we go. Money isn't going to change anything. So it looks like somebody is agreeing with me. Judy is. We'll see, though. See, that's the great thing about this. They just threw $70-some billion into Ontario's healthcare system. Now, let's see if your experience, if you went today to the hospital, is any different than when you go, let's say, in a year. Let's give it a chance for the money to get through there, do some things. Let's check in on April 18th, 2024. And ask ourselves, did the $76 billion or whatever it is actually improve our healthcare system? Because we can do that, like you said. Some transparency. And we can just go from our own experiences as well. Innovation Quarters program supports Sudbury entrepreneurs. Among other services, it offers mentors to new businesses. So if you're thinking of starting a new business, look into the innovation quarters that is, I think, located downtown. It supports Sudbury entrepreneurs, and they need all the support they can get because it's definitely getting harder and harder and harder out there to do business. You thought it was
Yeah,
hard
that might
before.
be a pretty good model. Especially, you're kind of surrounded in a group with other entrepreneurs and people with experience. So
Yep.
you've got a lot of a support network there.
So now we go back to the other comment for the last story. We were just talking about the hospital and the money and the healthcare system. And Denise is saying the money is just a trap. It's a loan. And then we have more debt. And how is that going to turn out? So, yeah, I think the feds gave us the money with strings attached. We have to do certain things with that money. And it's kind of their agenda of how they want to see healthcare done. And I think a lot of it is going more digital and tracking and things like that. And so less privacy in terms of your health information, which used to be extremely private. So private you couldn't even get it yourself if you need to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a common thing.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's like one of those, like the reality is our system is publicly funded, It's the money's not going to come in with people paying out of pocket. It comes from the government. So that is where the money comes from for it to exist. So
yeah, it is our like it, love it, leave it, whatever you want to do with it. It's the way our country is. It's a very socialistic healthcare system, socialistic country to begin with, teetering on communism, and we'll see that possibly later. Tucker Carlson has a new original on Justin Trudeau and basically some of the views that other countries have of what they've been witnessing in our country. So we'll maybe have a chance to look at the trailer of that a little bit later, because it might tie right in with our deep dives today. Federal workers to strike Wednesday if union and government don't reach a deal by tonight at 9:00. And I don't think they are going to reach a deal. They are going to be going on strike, and it may be a long one. And we don't know how that's going to affect our taxes. If you're expecting a return or you have to pay, they're not planning on extending the dates as of right now. They have no plans of changing the due dates for your taxes. Belinda says, I haven't seen money handled well in Sudbury, period, from local government to our university. That's, I think, a fair statement from what we've seen here. There is a particular common thread running to those topics, if you're including the hospital and the
I
university.
think in general that's a problem with our society.
For sure.
Needs to get addressed.
For sure. Vin says HSN's physical capacity so much larger than it appears. There are nearly empty words. Wards, okay. Yeah, that's true. With one or two beds taken when the capacity is 40 to 50. Redelegating what space would be beneficial, yes, but staffing measures should be a priority for sure. And I heard Franz Jelena giving it to Doug Ford today on CBC, which I listen to all the time. I listen to all news sources, watch and read as many news sources as I can. So Franz Jelena was giving it to Doug Ford about they put the cap on the increase, the 1% increase to healthcare workers every year. And she said that's a reason why we're not attracting new healthcare workers. Not one mention of the mandate and losing possibly 40% of the workforce there. Why couldn't just mention that's a reason too? Why doesn't she get on Doug Ford for mandating healthcare workers to have to follow that protocol and then they lose their jobs? No mention of what that did to the healthcare. Again, it's just never mentioned. Mm-hmm. So I just always look at the elephant in the room, So they're just blaming the fact that the 1% increase was the reason for a problem with our staffing problems in our healthcare system.
Yeah. I'll have to keep that story in mind for when we talk about CBC and their government-funded Twitter
Sure,
label now, because I think that's
sure.
kind of connected.
Let's do that. Okay, it's just another name for concentration camps. Interesting point of view, and that's Violet coming in. Hope you're having a good morning, Violet. Let's see here. Diane, good morning. Aaron and Billy and everyone. Bon matin. Yes, Diane. Love the French, the bilingual. I've always wanted to have a bilingual segment on the show, but we're only an hour. We can't even get in what we got in now. So it's going to be hard. Maybe we'll have to have a whole other show in French. Claire says it would be a good time to for new elections, since the Trudeau government has no more money left to give, and get Pierre Poilievre to fix things. Well, that is kind of like the case usually, and that's the yin and the yang of the conservative liberal. Liberals come out and spend, conservatives come in and balance the budgets. Then liberals get in and spend, conservatives come in and then balance the budget. So it seems to be the way things have gone historically. I think we're too far gone now to pay off our debts, though. I think it's gone. I think we're done with that one. Yeah, that's right. 2,000 nurses quit because of the mandates. That's from Denise. And that is going to impact the healthcare system. But why isn't that in the news? Why don't they ever mention that that's a factor? Good or bad, they could even blame them and demonize them and say, how dare you leave the medical system? At least do that. But they don't even mention it. Okay, so, and sorry about that voice there. I just, I'll save it for Halloween.
That was pretty good. You should use that a couple times a year.
Sure, sure. Okay. Flooding everywhere in the city. Like, it's crazy. Let's see if we got pictures of our flooding that's going on. It's incredible. Like, look at this flooding everywhere. Picture from the Sudbury Star. Pretty incredible. Like, just there's tons of areas that are underwater, even with businesses. There's Notre Dame. I can tell the business there. So Junction Creek, Vermilion River, overflowing recently.
When were these pictures taken? Is that this morning or something?
No, yesterday. So yesterday, day before. Lots of flooding going on. And again, it's right around the Vermilion Rivers, Junction Creek, wherever there is. Look at this one. So pretty incredible. So we don't see it everywhere in the city, obviously, but there's certain sections that are hit pretty hard. That's from our thawing, our warm weather that we had after all of the snow we got just latter part of the winter here. Okay, so let's see. IT outage shuts down 14 gateway casinos across Ontario, including Sudbury. All bets are off. 14 Ontario casinos after IT outage shuts them down. So that's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't open that one up. Do you have the Coles notes of that one? Exactly what they say it was?
No, just there was 14 of them that shut down, including Sudbury's. It was an IT glitch. I don't know if they're saying it was outside interference or if it was an inside thing or what, but
I wouldn't put that much weight on whatever they said it was.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. So that's what I mean by
not the real one.
Yeah. So if we were to read it, it's just going to be what the company said, because that's what journalism is today. The company just sends out a press release and then we'll just print it, kind of thing.
Well,
don't ask
it's not
too many
just
questions.
Journalism. I think that's anyone has friends that worked in institutions, that's kind of
for sure. So this is interesting too. This goes along with the whole defund the police thing from before, where they were saying instead of police, let's just have healthcare workers respond to different situations. The Downtown Sudbury Business Improvement Area, BIA, hopes to launch a $250,000 Welcoming Streets pilot program that would hire 2 mental health support workers who can respond to calls instead of police.
Now, that seems smart.
I actually liked the idea before. I didn't like the idea of defunding the police, but I like the idea of incorporating mental health workers with the police and wherever a mental health worker actually would make more sense, send them or have them along with the police. I've always thought that. I thought, why would you want to defund the police though, and then just bring in mental health workers? Because sometimes you need a little bit more than just a mental health worker. Oh, speaking of defund the police, here's the Telegraph, National Telegraph, saying defund the CBC. Twitter refuses to use. CBC refuses to use Twitter after the government-funded label. So let's get into that after this next story that we didn't get a chance to get to yesterday. After a video, the last segment here, a video of a man on a scooter being chased by police. I don't know if you all had a chance to see this or not, but this is interesting here. Maybe I'll get a full screen on it. Man on a scooter being chased by police on Notre Dame here in Sudbury. See if we can see this. Yeah, of course, it goes right back to the beginning. So I don't know if you've ever seen a high-speed chase before. 3 police cruisers chasing a man on a scooter down Notre Dame. Looks like he's
audio, no Bad Boys soundtrack to this.
No, there's no audio. I tried, but there's no audio. He seems to be getting away though. Not sure. He's on the sidewalk now. Police can't drive on the sidewalk, or is he on the sidewalk? No, he's still on the road. He's just new, getting through everything. So if you want to get away from the police in Sudbury, all you'd got to do is get a scooter. And should do you know.
I think I was very courteous to evade the police on the scooter because that doesn't look quite as dangerous.
Exactly. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, so being questioned here, Andrew Lawton from the Andrew Lawton Show basically is going to give his take on the chief of staff of Justin Trudeau being questioned. We didn't get a chance to get this yesterday. Let's just start off our deep dive with this. Then we'll get into the CBC being funded right after.
Oh, I'm sorry. I dozed off there. I was watching Katie Telford's 2.5-hour testimony before a House of Commons committee. I think I made my way through the first 2 hours, and then I just passed out. I didn't even know I was on air right now. What time is it? 3:30. Okay, so I've been out for a little over an hour. Has anything happened? No? I didn't miss anything? No? She said nothing? Oh, who could have seen that coming? Well, if you would like that question answered, please check out today's Daily Brief, in which I said, I bet Katie Telford is not going to say a darn thing. Welcome, my friends, to Canada's most irreverent talk show, The Andrew Lawton Show, here on True North, closing out the week on this Friday, April 14th, 2023. And the aforementioned testimony by Katie Telford, I shouldn't have even budgeted time in the show to talk about it, because there's nothing to talk about. She sat there and MPs asked her questions. She gave what were theoretically, in the broadest sense of the phrase, characterized as answers, although I think responses is probably more. Actually, I think even that's a bit generous. And at the end of it, I don't think we know anything more about China's interference in Canadian elections or the government's response or lack of response than we did a couple of hours ago. So I think that the Conservatives made a bit of a tactical error in putting so much emphasis on getting Katie Telford to testify, the chief of staff to Justin Trudeau, taking questions from parliamentarians. They're all going to get to the bottom of it. They're asking what she knew, when she knew it, what she was briefed on, when she was briefed, how much she told Justin Trudeau, how much was passed along to the Liberal campaign, and all of that. And look, the questions are fair. The issue is a reasonable one.
So did you have a chance at all to hear any of her testimony, Billy, at all?
No, I didn't. But I'm going to, what that guy said, I think there's 2 very important things that come out of that. One is we're having this conversation right now.
Okay.
The fact that this thing happened and nothing supposedly came out of it, to me, the big brass ring of all of these things, it's not really, the aim for government policy change, I think, is for people to see, people start getting more, tapped into what's going on. And that's what ultimately changes things in the end.
Okay.
The other thing I will add too is I think in this era, which I kind of liken it to almost like the starting was the Jon Stewart era,
Mhm.
where you had all of a sudden you could take video clips from the past,
For sure.
juxtapose them, put them together, edit them,
Yeah.
and now you've got this sort of like real library to kind of demonstrate, and you could do a quick, 2-minute Twitter video, and that would have much more impact than someone watching this.
Yeah, and I think we need to
2 hour.
take that approach too, because it would be very effective. And if we don't do that, it doesn't really get the point across. But let's just listen to how she answers questions just for a second here, and we'll be right back. Sure. Oh yeah, that's why. Be right back, and now I got it here.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, Ms. Telford. Thank you for your attendance today. Ms. Telford, did the Prime Minister receive a series of briefings from Canada's National Spy Agency beginning in January 2022 on Beijing's election interference, specifically in the 2019 election?
I believe you received from the National Security and Intelligence Advisor and from the Privy Council Office a listing of briefings that the Prime Minister has received on the subject.
Yes, you're referring to the document that was undertaken by the National Security Officer, Jody Thomas, on March the 1st of this year that we received this morning at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I've looked at this, and there's no indication about any briefings in January of 2022. But noteworthy, the commentary on the beginning of page number 1 indicates the list is not exhaustive, as the records are not complete in all cases. And this only represents formal briefings as opposed to informal briefings. So I'll ask the question again. Did the Prime Minister receive a series of briefings beginning in January 2022 on Beijing's election interference in the 2019 election? Yes or no?
I think, Madam Chair, the answer may have been given in the question, which is that in the preamble in the memo, it talks about how there's all kinds of conversations that go on about some of these topics that can't all be captured in terms of formal briefings, and you have the list of formal briefings that are provided in the
So
memo.
I could take that as a yes, that he would have received some informal briefings in and around that time frame, January of 2022, as reported by Global News on November the 7th of 2022.
I can't speak specifically to what was discussed in briefings over the course of those months and whether it was related to what was in the reporting.
Again, Ms. Telford, I'm not asking for specifics. I'm asking you to confirm that is more than likely, in fact, it did happen, that he would have received briefings along those lines in January of 2022, notwithstanding that it's not repeated in this particular document that we got today.
Did and more than likely, in my experience, are different things. I think it is quite possible that there were discussions throughout that time period around foreign interference. As I think the Prime Minister said yesterday, we have talked about these subjects a lot over many years because there's been a lot of activity and a lot of work that this government has done on this front.
And the Prime Minister was briefed on China's Toronto consulate directing a large clandestine transfer of funds to at least 11 federal election candidates and numerous Beijing operatives who worked as their campaign staffers. That was the subject matter of those series of briefings in January of 2022. Are you confirming that?
No, Madam Speaker, I can't, unfortunately, I can't provide information about what I have or have not been briefed on in an intelligence setting or in a public setting about intelligence. But what I can remind the members through you, Madam Chair, of is what the NSIA said when she was here, actually on March 1st at this very committee, and she said the connection that was being made between 11 candidates and funds that you're describing, that was inaccurate.
All right, so there you go. So it's all settled now. Everybody is happy with the answers, I think, right? So it's pretty clear.
You know, I gotta say, unfortunately,
This is the
that
weirdest
guy's
Hollywood story
case-
of the day. So Netflix
Hang on
has
one
now
second.
announced that
sorry.
Jada Pinkett Smith is doing a docu-series on
Yeah, that's bizarre what just took place there on my computer. But anyways, go ahead, Billy.
Okay, yeah, no, I was hoping that guy had some more receipts with him, but you know what he's saying is, you know, did you have some kind of water cooler conversation? And that's I don't know, that's kind of weak. You know,
Yeah.
you need to. I think he needs to bring more receipts with him. Say, here we have proof.
So
This
his
was
questions-
laid down. You know,
Yeah, questions are kind of weak in the first place, right? Is what you're saying. Like you could have had better questions. I've heard her speaking though. I saw more than that. That just little clip there, and yeah. So right away, the question was in this document. It says this, and she says instead of answering the question, she says, "Well, I think what you're referring to in your question is the document that we sent you on this." So, what the heck was that? Why did she have to come back and say, I think what you're asking me refers to the document that we sent you this morning? Like he was reading from that document. So that just deflects and just sends it further and further. You know, it's just not answering the question. So we see that.
Well, I got the impression it was saying that there's you know, other kind of ambiguous stuff that wasn't included in the document and that they didn't include in the document.
Yeah.
And she's going, well, you know, there's a bunch of conversations that do you have anything, you know, there's no real specifics here.
Yeah.
So I can't. So I could.
Like, to me, why do they even
respond to that?
Why do they even do these things? It really doesn't make any sense if you're not going to answer questions. It's like if you've seen that video with Pierre Poilievre asking the prime minister how much money his family made from the We thing, and he just says, "I need to know the amount that your family made," and the prime minister just goes on and on and on about how great his family is, and he goes, Mr. Prime Minister, I just need to know the amount, please. The amount.
You know how much reach that video had compared to if he did answer the question? That probably did more to raise the specter that this guy is receiving a lot of money and he's not telling.
Yeah. Well, they were briefed that 11 candidates were infiltrated in terms of money being poured into their campaigns from foreign interests, mainly China. They already knew all that. But then when he was asked about foreign interference, at first he denied knowing anything about it, knowing that he was being briefed for years and years and years on it. And then so first he denied it. Then he said it only happened a few times. And now it's coming out that it's happening all the time. And they all knew about it. That's a constant thing. And he's done a lot to control it. And he's doing a lot to protect Canadians through it. That's what she just said. That government's been doing tons of stuff to stop foreign interference, but they don't say what. They just say they've been doing a lot. So you're supposed to take them at their word.
Is there a connection to all these videos and, you know, Trudeau's kind of lack of popularity right now? I would say is a good possibility.
I think amongst liberals, he's still as popular as he's always been because people just bear down with him and just whatever he says, they'll just go with. But maybe amongst the people that can be influenced.
The dissatisfaction, I think there's probably more so now.
Yeah.
Like it's even individually, each people are really starting to
for sure
get annoyed.
Let's look at what the Prime Minister has to say about the Twitter, CBC's Twitter allegation, being deemed government
I think it says
media.
A lot about the Conservative Party of Canada. They're choosing to constantly attack independent media organizations, journalists who are working hard to keep Canadians informed and support our democracy. CBC Radio.
Okay, so we're going to go back again how he started this, what he says right away of what this means that Twitter just made the determination to claim that CBC is government-funded media. So right away, this is the Prime Minister's response. Look at the look on his face even, and let's see what he says right away off the cuff.
I think it says a lot about the Conservative Party of Canada. They're choosing to constantly attack independent media organizations, journalists who are working hard to keep Canadians informed and support our democracy. CBC Radio-Canada serves right across the country, delivers local news and local content in many regions of the country that, yes, has been challenged over the past years, but the idea of adding to that challenges and laying on by attacking this Canadian institution, attacking the culture and local content that is so important to so many Canadians, really indicates the values and the approach that Mr. Poilievre is putting forward. And I think it is telling that in order to attack this institution that is important for many, many Canadians, he runs to American billionaires, the tech giants that they continue to defend in committee and in their approach on our legislation to make tech giants pay their fair share. Conservatives are always there to defend them. So when they're trying to attack a foundational Canadian institution, the fact that he has to run to American billionaires for support to attack Canadians says a lot about Mr. Poilievre and his values.
It does. It says a lot about Pierre Poilievre and his values. The fact that he says he attacks independent media and then doesn't give an example, this is so indicative of what I hear from our Prime Minister or anyone on that side. They'll usually say something broad strokes and just say he attacks independent media, and he doesn't go like he did with the this media place or like he did here. He just doesn't say that because there is, in my mind, no example. He actually embraces independent media, and the reason why he went to Twitter was because of the idea CBC he's claiming is not independent, and if something is government funded, like Twitter already made the distinction for NPR in the United States that it is government funded. And Pierre Poilievre's going, well, if you're going to do that for NPR, it's the same thing here in Canada. They did the same thing in Australia, same thing in Great Britain for all the government funded outlets, just so people know. It's like when you fact check things, it's like a fact check. It's like, wouldn't people want to know? Like I was saying before, it should be out there. I said on air that I lean more conservative than anything, right? How many times have you heard me say this, Billy?
Mm-hmm.
How many times have you heard Marcus Schwabe say, I lean more liberal, I just voted for Justin Trudeau? Ever.
Yeah.
You'll never hear that. You'll never hear someone on
think...
CBC say, I voted this or we are left. They take exception when someone claims that they're left leaning, like most left people do claim. They get upset. They're always upset about things. The more and more society becomes more and more left, the more and more upset they get. And I don't understand how that works. You're getting your way more and more. They should be happy. You should be happy, or your world is turning into the world the utopia that you've envisioned all these years. You've had your prime minister in government now for over 8 years. It should be a utopia out there right now, because your ideology and everything is in charge of everything. So you should be happier than anything. You were very upset when the Conservatives were in. Everything they were doing was wrong, and the Liberals could do such a better job at it. You've had it for now just as long as Harper, and so it should be great. But I just see a bunch of people being very upset. They're in power and they're upset at the way things are going. They're upset at the opposition, for crying out loud. They're in power. You know what I mean? Like, what is this? Like, the mentality of it is just, I can't get around it. It's just bizarre. There's no happiness in when they got to get their way and then they go on to the next thing. They get their way and then they got to go on to the next thing. They're never satisfied, never happy with anything. That's what I find. And so let's look at the article. CBC whines after being designated as government-funded media on Twitter. This coming from the National Telegraph. Recently, a conservative culture war victory was won after a brief social media campaign mounted by Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre to get Twitter owner Elon Musk to label the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation as government media. As of yesterday, 2 days ago now, Elon Musk labeled it the government-funded media. So here's a Twitter post from Pierre Poilievre. In response to this, members of the liberal legacy media freaked out and began accusing Pierre Poilievre, which we just saw from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. We showed it, how it happened, what his comments were, of Musk engaging in foreign interference even, and that the CBC is entirely neutral and conservatives are attacking impartial journalism. So, Billy, is the CBC, as they claim, entirely neutral?
I think everything you said was very logical. I don't think anyone can be neutral. And I think it brings up the question of
Correct.
this, not just the question, but probably the discussion that if you are receiving money from a source, are you likely to get more and more sympathetic to that source? And, so I think the CBC does a good job overall and probably in the past, but we could see this Overton window getting smaller over the past few years. And they got a lot of really big things wrong in the past couple of years.
sure.
It really demonstrates the need for, I think a wider media market.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you need more, again, citizen journalism, private, because it's just it seems like an inevitable conclusion that these government funded media gets closer to state controlled media over time.
Yep, for sure. So as you can see here, there's Friends of Canadian Broadcasting. They looked at the CBC. They are an unbiased organization that looks at media and claims their bias. Basically, they can look at their bias. And CBC's board of appointment by members of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's Liberal Party cabinet, and even the media bias fact check website, which is Friends of Canadian Broadcasting, because members of the board of CBC are appointed. It is a political thing. So if you are appointed by the Prime Minister to a board, usually he's going to promote the people that he wants to be on his side. Obviously, he wants to stay in power. How that is bias. That is basically a conflict of interest. So as you can see here on the chart, they've rated them left of center, and being least biased is right in the middle. And you can see where they've rated the CBC. Just today, the CBC then took its tantrum further and posted on Twitter that it will pause its use of Twitter, although noticeably never stated that it would not start using it again, Twitter again, until the label is taken off of its account. Expect the CBC to eventually have to start posting on Twitter again after its viewership falls. So that's that in a handbasket. So CBC, not very happy. As they say, our journalism is impartial and independent. To suggest otherwise is untrue. So right there, we saw.
Not really suggesting that. He's just saying something that I think 99% of Canadians would have agreed with, like this time last year. If you interviewed 10 people on the street and you asked them if CBC is government funded, they would probably say yes.
Yeah, it's true. And that's what I was wondering too. Why are they making such a big deal of it? Everyone knows it already. They know it's government funded.
Mm-hmm. It's just kind of the implication that government funded ends up having this bias, because it's almost inherently understood that is a kind of a logical conclusion eventually.
Well, and that's why I was always saying that we need to include in our media, like on the bottom left of this screen should say who I voted for last time or something, or at least as media people, we need to be more transparent with our biases. Say, I lean conservative and this is my story now. And you can see, okay, he's worded it that way because he leans conservative, or I am liberal. Whereas liberal media tries to come off as, we're not liberal media. We're unbiased. Don't say that, because you are. It is true. Look at this, nonpartisan third party looking at it. That, they are left. Like, they can't deny it. It is what it is. It's okay. We hear it. People know it. It's like the story I heard on today. They love to perpetuate these narratives of the left that everyone's inherently racist. White people are bad. The patriarchal society needs to be taken down.
Yeah.
All these
I
things.
don't know if people need to label themselves, though.
You mean journalists?
Even journalists. I think, another way you could approach that is just have like a very free press. You've got a wide splay of people who are allowed to go out there, pitch their idea of the way they see the world, and people can look at them all and make their own judgments from there.
And what I'm saying leads to that. What I'm saying actually would lead to what you're saying, but if it's not known, it actually leads to the way it is now, where people then just say, oh no, I'm unbiased, when you don't, really in their mind, they are an activist. They're a journalist activist because they went to university and they were told they need to be an activist to, the ideology of Marxism, which is taught to them in universities. And they need to be an activist to create a Marxist utopia on this earth. And they need to do whatever it takes in order to do that, because everything they do will be justified afterwards. And so if you're a journalist and you don't say that out and out up front, then what you're saying, you're going to do whatever it takes, including lie possibly, because your idea of this utopian world needs to happen at any expense. And you're an activist. Activists do whatever they can do to get their point. And if you're an activist journalist, which we do have in our world,
people have to be trained to like recognize that and just be able to
sure.
Internally call that out. And I think this any kind of like forcing people to do something, I don't know, I just like even in the media, I think it's better for people to like learn and grow and not expect a rule to take care of something for them. That is kind of just
no, it's true. And in a perfect world, you wouldn't have. But again, there's a huge movement, a Marxist movement on out there. I just graduated university. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm going to have one of the professors actually on video that I have explaining Marxism and teaching it to students. If people don't know really what's going on in our universities, which has been going on for over 30 years, that this is what we're seeing in our society today. And you're wondering where all this is coming from. That's where it's coming from. There's a huge push to make the global landscape all homogenized and take down borders and take down identities in terms of national identities and just make it one communist world out there. That's, that's what we're seeing today. And I will show those videos and I will make that point at some point. And it just is a fact. Everyone's scratching their head going, wow, this world's really crazy. Well, there's a reason for that. Anyway, so that's all the time we have though today, Billy. Can you imagine that?
Oh.
Lots of comments from the left, from the right. And let's just try and have a conversation and get to the bottom of things and try and unpack our world if we can to the best of our ability. And I always appreciate your comments, Billy, because you always add that other perspective, right? And I appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Thanks everyone for commenting today. It was not able to get all the comments on the screen at the end, just trying to get this stuff in, but pay attention to the comments in the comments section, as we're grateful for all of your comments. And we'll see you same time, same place tomorrow, right here on CKLU 96.7 FM. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily. Have a great one, everyone. Ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.